I'm Marcy Langlois, and you're listening to Living Beyond Limits. I am so stoked to be with you this week because we are going to be talking about how to overcome your limitations. Whatever limitations that you have in front of you, how can you transcend them and move beyond from the mundane daily to the most incomprehensible things that you have struggled with forever? We're going to explore how you transcend whatever limitation you may be facing at this moment. We all have these life circumstances that are sometimes difficult to deal with or potentially downright brutal. Things happen that knock the wind out of you and you get back up and keep going, and other things come along that lay you out and you can't see how you think you're ever going to recover from this. Thankfully, there are also these extraordinary events and circumstances that come to pass that are so amazing. Things line up perfectly and everything is flowing better than you could ever imagine. Everything feels right in the world. You know those days? Feels so great when this happens. Then in between the getting the wind knocked out of you and sailing on sunshine is everything else. It's life. Everyone wants the sailing on sunshine, and I get it. It completely makes sense. In America in particular, we have this really skewed notion that our life is going to be amazing if we do the following: get married, have 2.5 kids, white picket fence, 2 cars in our garage. That somehow, I have no idea how, but seems to have been adopted as the secret formula to happiness in America. But it doesn't, as we all know. And the thing is that what would our life be even if it did come to pass? What would your life be like without all of your experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly? Would you be who you are today without all the experiences that you've had? Would you appreciate the things that you have as much as you do if they would have come easier to you? I can tell you that from my own personal experience, every single limitation that I have had in my life has been the thing that has catapulted me into this evolution of self. It's important to question these ideas that our culture teaches and preaches. There's a common thought that you're going to go to college, get your dream job, find the perfect partner, have the cutest kids, and life is just going to be amazing. You're going to ride off into the sunset and everything is going to be fantastic. Are you familiar with this line of thinking? Are you someone that has subscribed to this idea that if you just get your ducks in a row, then life is going to be great? Well, then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, 2 months after you think all your ducks are lined up in a row, bam, life happens with unexpected financial stress. You lose a loved one unexpectedly. You have health issues, even though you go to the gym and eat all the right foods. Or the love of your life ends the relationship. You can't seem to find the dream job you were anticipating after you worked so hard in college. The list is infinite, really. Life can surprise us in so many ways. Regardless of what it is that happens exactly, your entire life is turned upside down and everything you had dreamed of is not working out according to plan. This happens every single day. And then people are shocked that life is happening. People are attached to that narrative that if you just follow the checklist, then things will come together. I'm guilty of believing this for sure. I thought for sure, after all of the surgeries that I had, and they were finished, that I would get to go off to college, turn the corner of life, and start my life over completely. So I understand who doesn't want to live their life like this, right? Instead of seeing our circumstances as they are, we immediately shut down, we go into fear, and we become highly reactive. We get into this whole story about how it shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be this way, it shouldn't be that way, it should be this way, it shouldn't be that way, right? And things would be so much better if I was in control. And that's not true. That's resistance to the present moment. Those are stories that we've constructed based on belief sets that we have that really are not helpful. We have to become aware of what belief systems we're holding on to and question or not whether they are in alignment with the truth of life. So how do you get there? How do you go from things that are so difficult to work through to freedom and overcoming? Here's how I did it in a nutshell. The first step is to ask yourself the difficult questions to answer. What are you doing here? What is the purpose of your existence? Why are you alive on this planet today, hurtling through space, rotating at an incredible rate of speed in a galaxy suspended in gravity, rotating around the sun? When you really take the time to consider the odds of you being here, it's quite something. So what is this life all about? What are you here to learn? I believe that we're here to evolve. And it makes sense to me. That's why we have emotions. If we weren't here to evolve, then we would be non-feeling people. If we were incapable of feeling an emotion, or if we weren't supposed to be evolving, then we would have no emotion. We would just come here without that as any part of the caveat. If that were the case, then we would be able to just show up with the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids and all the things. Life would be seamless and easy. And then you just come here, you check all your stuff off your list, and then you die. Emotions are what allow us to feel and learn. The big challenge with emotions and being human, though, is that we typically only want to feel good. I mean, hey, I totally can understand that. When we don't feel good, we automatically assume something's wrong. And that's simply not the truth either. We don't appreciate having the uncomfortable feelings, even though that's where the growth is. We can't grow without the difficulties. The difficult space has been the motivator for me. Have you ever woke up in the morning and everything is great in your life and you say, oh, everything's great today. I'm going to go to work and I'm going to be working on my childhood trauma because I know it's just over there mounding up. So I'm going to go ahead and address it today. No, that's not how life works at all. You start working on childhood trauma because you feel the pain of it somewhere in your life. And that pain motivates you to do something different. That's been my experience too for all of my circumstances. After sitting in thousands of 12-step meetings and hearing people share their experience, it seems that this is true for most people. As humans, we will ride the train as far as we can possibly ride it for as long as it keeps moving. And then when the wheels finally fall off, we become willing to take a look and see what might be causing that. So asking these big questions, challenging the beliefs that you already have about things, reading other books than the ones you were brought up reading, having conversations with people maybe you don't normally agree with or talk to, but go ahead and ask them their perspective. See, why are we here? What is this all about? For me, this was a fundamental step because if what I believe is strong enough, then that will bolster my actions. If I believe that I'm here for a reason, and that's to evolve, and I believe that I'm here to gain everything out of life that I possibly can, then I'm far more committed to taking the steps necessary to walk that out. It changes the context of everything that I'm dealing with, and it allows me to see it from a different perspective, that things are happening for me and not to me. With having a why behind the purpose of my life, then I'm more willing to do whatever the task is in front of me to overcome them. Ask yourself, where do you feel victimized? You see, victimhood is so dangerous. I know it very well. I lived there for so long. In my life, I believed that things that had happened to me were my identity. I had an entire litany of things. I was born sick. I grew up in a family with very little means. My schoolmates teased me, blah, 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 right? All of these things. They are my story, and it is true. But here is how that translates into a thought process. Therefore, your life is terrible. That thought process rolls out the red carpet for all the dysfunctional coping mechanisms to deal with my life being terrible. The next thought was, you might as well just drink. Followed up by the next self-sabotaging thought of, if you had my life, you would drink too. That was my story for a long time. If you had my life, you would drink too. But if you go back and you look at step one and you look at your beliefs, you're going to see that this doesn't add up. Your beliefs of why you're here, why you're on this planet, then victimhood is not really a thing. It isn't an accurate way to think at all. You're not a victim. I'm not a victim. You're simply a human being having human experiences. Maybe your circumstances are difficult. We have to acknowledge it if they are, because that's the truth. And we have to feel it. But where it gets sticky for most people is when we feel sorry for ourselves for a prolonged period of time. And we stay in that story of how our life is so terrible and how it shouldn't be this way. And then we let all these circumstances that happened, maybe decades ago even, dictate our current behavior and actions. You have to find where you're the victim in your own life and where you've given yourself that title, usually unknowingly. You have to opt out of victimhood. You have to change that thought process from victimhood to someone who is fully empowered and capable. And the only way to do that is making a conscious decision. You may be able to do this on your own, or if you need guidance, seek out a therapist. There's no shame in that. And the third thing is taking action in your own life. Reclaim your power. Do the hard things, even when you don't want to. That is a big deal. Usually, your mind and body are going to resist initially. They want to stay back in the familiar story of the known. But every day, you have to make an active choice to change who you are. I stayed stuck for so long in the victim role. I didn't ask myself any of the big questions I just laid out for you about life either. I wasn't willing to do the hard work until I was ready. I hope you're ready because it takes commitment and perseverance. You have to wake up every day and do the hard stuff every single day, even when you don't want to. If you need to get into therapy, then go. If you need to lose weight, then modify your eating patterns. If you need to start exercising, then go for a walk today. You literally have to take the actions that are necessary for whatever limitation you are wanting to overcome. You have to overcome yourself every day, because that's the nature of being human. And that's how our brains are wired. It's literally a struggle to overcome yourself every day. You have to do the hard work or you won't overcome the limitation. So you get to choose. You can keep doing what you're doing, but you'll also keep getting what you're getting. Or you can do what you know you need to do, even though it's difficult, to overcome these things and get what you're envisioning. That was me. I just stayed in that story of victimhood. I didn't realize that I had done this to myself. I felt so beat up by the time that I became willing to ask the questions. Where are you pinned as a victim? Are you ready to live a different way? Is the pain great enough that you're willing to dive in and examine your life so that you can override the story of victimhood and be empowered to make different choices to do the hard things? You have every choice available to you of how you're going to be in this world. How are you going to live your life? All you have to do is choose. You have your own power. I didn't want to do the work necessarily, truthfully. I didn't want to sit in a 12-step meeting every day, and I didn't want to eat healthy food or exercise, but I wanted the results of doing those things. So I made the hard choice every day, and I have this incredible life today. I keep doing the hard things. And when I don't want to, I go back to step one and I ask myself, what is the purpose of your life, Marcy? Why are you here? And then I go do it. Then I make a different choice and I go do it. I do the hard thing. When you feel stuck, go back to your purpose. Make sure you aren't in victimhood anywhere. And remember that you have the power to choose what kind of life you want. This week, do all the hard things. Each day, be committed to your purpose of why. Stay out of victimhood. Move the needle every day towards who it is that you envision becoming. If you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with your family, friends, and coworkers. Be sure to check us out at marcylanglois.com and sign up for our newsletter so you can be certain to receive all future episodes. Until next week, be aiming to live beyond limits.